So let's take a look at the code now. This is the my project. We have the command game player, and here we have the properties that I showed on the drawing. We have the ID and X and Y, the position on the map, and then input for health, bool for executing. Did I show this? So we're gonna need a bool for to know if the player is executing, so we don't start executing again. And this is the list of commands that we will have. So this is a constructor. We set ID, X, and Y, and health from the properties from outside, arguments from outside, and we initialize the list of commands. And this is the function that adds a new command. So it will add to the list of commands, and then if executing, if it's not already executing, it will start executing, and then we'll set this executing bool to true. So only the first time we add a command, we will start this loop, this executing loop. But for the next and third, we just add in the list and we don't start the loop again because it's already running, iterating on the list. So this is the start sequence, and this function, we iterate over each command, and we call this function make, which takes the command type and takes the x coordinate and the y coordinate. And what this make function does is it calls our make building function and our make cannon function that I showed on the drawing, right? So those two functions, what they do is they simulate a delay. So they simulate that the player is building something and there is a delay for 5 seconds, and then it says building done. It says started building, and then 5 seconds and building done. And make cannon simulates also a delay. So we say started to make cannon, a delay for 10 seconds happens, and then um, we'll say cannon done. And this also requires some knowledge of async programming. So if what this to know what this async await means, you need some async programming background. But if you don't know it, just follow along. You may understand this. If you don't, maybe go and review it and come back. But it's you should be able to pick up things. Um, what this await does is it just simulates the 5 second delay, right? So if you don't use this await, this we have to use it before task delay to get an actual delay, or it doesn't work. So that's basically it. And same here in this make function. So I think that's it for this um, player class. And also one important note is that this start sequence, as I said, it will run in parallel, and while it's running we should be able to add to the list. So while this is running and we're building, making buildings and cannons, we should also be able to add new commands to the list during this. So this will run, start sequence will run on a separate thread, and we'll be able to, it won't block the program, we'll still be able to add to the commands list. Okay, so let's look at the command class. So as we said on the drawing, it will have an ID for each command, X and Y, the coordinates on the map, and the type of command string, and the constructor will set this uh, from outside, set this data from outside. So let's take a look at this game. So yeah, I didn't talk about this class in the drawing. What this does is, all it does is just make a player of an instance of player and just return that. So, and it will use this code library to generate a unique ID for it, and will put the player on X and Y on the map and give it health 100. Let's go to our example in program.cs. So in this example we have we create a new player, game.add_player, add coordinates 5, 6, and then we add those commands. And what we're doing here is we put the player and we add a command, build a cannon at 5 and 6 on the map, and this command is of ID 1. And then another command, make a building at 5 and 6, which doesn't make sense to build a command to make a building on the same point on the map, so maybe we'll change those. So we're firing those commands on the map. So it should start executing this command, and those will be in line or in queue until the turn comes after this command is done. So let's, in this key press, I will come back to this um, after I run the code and show you how it works. So let's run this. So it added a new command and started executing that, and then at the same instance it added all the other commands and lined them up to be executed when their turn comes. Oh yes, it's done, and then after the first thing done, which is the cannon, it will start um, and the command after that, and when it's done we'll start the one after that and so on. Let's look at this. It's now done, no more commands for now. So let's look at this. First, it added this command, this cannon command, and started executing it. And at the same instant, we added all the other commands, all these build commands, we added them. And they're added in line until the turn comes. So after a few seconds or 10 seconds, the cannon is done. And so the list will go over to the next um, command in the list, which is this building command at 5, 7. So it'll start with that, and then when it's done, it will start with the one after it, and so on. And so this is it. This is just, it works exactly how we want it. So let's look at this key press function. So coming back to this key press function, and I want to explain what it does. So this looks complex, but all it does really is wait for a button click, a key press of enter. And when you click enter, all the commands are cleared in the middle of execution, and um, we instantly stop executing. We don't execute the rest of the commands, we stop drawing, and let's test this. So we will run this. Now we're executing the first command. And it's done. Now we're executing the second command. It's done, and I will stop right here. Press enter now. Command's cleared. So what it did is just it executed the command that it was in the middle of doing, and then it stopped because the list is cleared and there's no more commands to execute. And so I just wanted to show this to make clear the fact that we're modifying the list while the program is running. So it was in the middle of execution and executing commands in order, and all of a sudden I just said, now no more, don't execute anymore, and just remove all the, and we do that by removing all the commands in the list so it has nothing to iterate on. So that's all for this about this key press function.